Hello Fast Fam, thanks for tuning in. I'm Craig Lieberman and I've been tinkering on cars since 1980. I've owned more than 40 cars in my life. Some were heroes, some were zeros. But never in my wildest dreams would I ever guess that 3 of my cars would go on to star in a motion picture franchise. My Supra, my GTR, and my Maxima all had starring roles in Universal's Fast and Furious movies. Over the next 3 years, I'd served Universal as a technical advisor. I helped choose the cars, procure the parts, oversee their builds, and support both production and post-production. I have some cool stories to tell about what it was like to build these cars and to work with the cast. I was there, on set, in the production meetings, working on cars, hanging with the actors, and consulting on post-production. So follow along as I tell the stories. Let's jump in. All right, who's ready for something a little bit different today? If you've been watching my Fast and Furious stories, you've probably realized that I've been a car guy for a long time, going back to the 1980s, longer than I care to remember, to be perfectly honest. So, a close friend of mine and I were recently talking, and he suggested I should talk about some of the adventures I've had over my many years of being in this culture. And I said, okay, sure, why not? So the conversation really started with a discussion about intersection takeovers and freeway shutdowns. As you can probably expect, boomers don't like that, right? So my buddy knows how much I loathe those behaviors, so I think he was trying to goat me. It's not that this activity is just illegal or even mildly dangerous. It's just that people are dumb enough to film it, which I can't wrap my head around. You're committing a crime and you're filming it. Not to mention that there's really nothing impressive about a V6 rear-wheel drive Dodge Challenger, Charger, whatever, doing donuts. Stand on the gas, turn the wheel. Nothing impressive. My friend had me cornered, though, when he asked me if I had ever engaged in hoonigan activities in my life, and I was like, oh, fuck, where do I even start? How far back do you want to go? He was also quick to point out that I had participated in at least 2 cross-country road rallies that he knew about. Yep, he got me on that one too. And if you know anything about rallies, you know that it's not a Sunday drive through the countryside with everybody doing the speed limit on the way to brunch with some mimosas. That's not what goes on these things. You've probably seen enough YouTube videos. Instead, it's a testosterone-filled cross-country game of cat and mouse with law enforcement officials on one side and everybody on cell phones on the other side. And the antics are often far, far more dangerous than any intersection takeovers or parking lot burnout sessions and whatnot. And I speak from experience. I've done several rallies, including Gold Rush in 2009, Italian Stampede in 2011, and Bullrun in 2006. In fact, in 2006, I was serving as the global marketing director for MagnaFlow Performance Exhaust, who was based here in Orange County, California. And at the time, Mario Andretti was our spokesperson. Very cool.
When you and the car are one, it's a feeling like no other. The sound of a car completes the experience. You want to hear those horses. The engine is talking to you. I'm Mario Andretti. When I drive, I don't just want to feel the experience. I want to hear it. MagnaFlow Performance Exhaust.
Mario and I had actually shared a very common bond. He had actually driven the blue Lamborghini that I purchased in 2003. He and Jay Leno actually used that car on the running of the Bulls in like 2000 or 1998, I think it was. So I signed MagnaFlow up to be a title sponsor of the 2006 Bull Run, and Mario would serve as a grand marshal. Mario was a spokesperson for the company, and we used him in a lot of advertising. To do the event, we borrowed 2 cars from 2 manufacturers, a Panos Esperanti GT and the not yet released 2007 Audi RS4. The event started in Times Square, New York City in July of 2006, I want to say, late July. There were many people on this rally who went on to become famous in one way or another. Richard Rawlings, Rob Ferretti, and even Hayden Christensen, who played Anakin Skywalker in a couple of the Star Wars movies. They were all participants on this rally. So we set out from New York on a Sunday morning, as I recall, and we were ultimately heading for Beverly Hills, California, which was a distance of about 3,000 miles, more or less. Mario initially was using the Panos, and I drove out of the city in the Audi. And before long, we wound up in what I believe is the Holland Tunnel, and there was 100 cars screaming through the Holland Tunnel, and there's a dude sitting up in a little glass booth over there where they monitor the traffic conditions, was freaking the fuck out, and he was on the phone calling everybody, and he just about shit himself. I'm sure he couldn't complete the phone call because it was so loud with a bunch of exotic cars running through that tunnel at full throttle. It's cool as hell to see, pretty immature, guilty as charged. A few minutes later, Mario decided he wanted to ride in comfort, and so he hopped into the Audi with me. So we had to regroup with the rally on somewhere on South 95, and speed started picking up. I had to, drive fast to catch up to the rally. Before we knew it, a lot of cars were doing well over 100 miles an hour, and Hayden Christensen was in one of the lead cars, his blue Ferrari 430. And again, before long, we were all into triple digits, and I knew this was not going to be able to be sustained for a long time. We got through about 20 minutes of driving like that, and all of a sudden I started seeing brake lights up ahead. And I figured that traffic was coming up or whatever. So I jumped on the binders, and all the rally cars seemed to be merging to the right, and I figured, well, maybe there's a block lane. And as I got closer, I could see that there were about a half a dozen state troopers blocking the left lanes with their cars and funneling everybody to the right. I was like, oh shit, this is not good. As I went by the first trooper, who was standing out in the middle of the fucking roadway, all I could hear her doing was go, pull over. And so I was like, oh shit, we are in trouble. They knew we were coming. So I merged to the right, and I ended up on the right shoulder, about 50 feet behind Hayden Christensen. I had two cops come walking up to the car, one on this side, hand on the gun, and the other one comes walking up to the driver's side of the car. And I knew I was in trouble. I just knew. So the conversation went something like this. Guy looks at me and goes, let me ask you a question. Do you think you're Mario Andretti or something? I was like, well, I'm not, but he is. And the cop leads, he goes, oh shit, Bob, it's Mario Andretti. He goes, Mario Andretti's driving the car. No, Mario Andretti's in the car. The cop comes walking up to his side, couple steps, and leads in and goes, Mario, what are you doing here? He goes, oh, I'm just trying to keep an eye on these boys. And the cop's like, you're doing a really bad job, I got to tell you. And it was kind of a little levity there, so I thought the situation was being de-escalated. And this guy over here is like, just looks at me. He goes, oh, Mario, I'm a big fan. I'm a tremendous fan. I'd love to get you to sign something for me. Would you mind if I got you something out of the car, you could sign it for me? And Mario's like, oh, sure. Yeah, go ahead. And then the cop just pulled his eyes back over to me. He goes, I'll have something for you to sign in a minute, too. I was like, fuck me running. Oh, I'm getting a ticket. I just got this guy introduced to Mario Andretti and I'm still going to get a ticket. I was not happy about that, but on the brighter side, I knew I wasn't going to jail at least, so that was a good thing. So I get my ticket. It was a speeding ticket for 85 in a 65 zone, and I figured New Jersey doesn't report to the California DMV. It won't affect my insurance rates. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. The rally continued to Pocono Raceway, and Mario Andretti, who lived very close to the track, had decided that he had had enough and went home. So we dropped him off at his house, and from there we had to go to Toronto, Canada. At the time, Hayden Christensen's Ferrari had broke its F1 transmission, just barely made it to the hotel, so he flew a mechanic in from Italy to fix the car. Must be nice, right? For the next day, our next stop was going to be Detroit on the way to Chicago. And this meant driving down Highway 401 in Canada. It's a beautiful, beautiful road. And I had the Audi at about 140 for quite some time. And in fact, I fell in love with that car so much that I called my rep at Audi North America and ordered one right over the phone. By the time I got to the hotel, the paperwork was faxed to me. I signed it, gave him my credit card number for a deposit, and that's how I came to own my blue Audi RS4, if anyone is interested. Fun little side note. As we neared Chicago, though, things started to heat up. I saw a Spiker C8 convertible coming up on our right. I motioned my co-driver, said, this car's coming. And who was driving? Carl Lewis, former Olympic athlete. My co-driver was not about to let Carl pass us on the shoulder. And for the next 50 miles was a game of cat and mouse, and people were getting pulled over left and right. Intermittently, the radar detector would go off, and we'd have to back off, or somebody else would get picked off. It was crazy. And by the time we got to the Skyway Toll Plaza, it was an absolute free-for-all. We decided it was a time to get off the freeway, but we ended up in a rough neighborhood, to say the least. So we get stopped at a stoplight. Four dudes pull up next to us in a 1970s donk-style Monte Carlo and motion for us to roll down the window. You know that? Roll it down. And my co-driver was like, he was like, ask him for directions. I was like, oh, fuck, he's trying to get me shot. So I had to come up with something quick, and I figured, okay, why prejudge? They just simply asked where we were going. I told them we were on a road rally with a bunch of famous people I've never heard of. And then like, well, where are you going? Well, there's a big after party up here with some famous musicians. And like, who? I was like, Jay-Z something and Little Kimberly or something like, Little Kim, where is it at? I told them the hotel, and they were fucking lit. So they're like, just follow us, man, just follow us. So they run the red light, and they're like, follow us, follow us. We pause for a second. They're like, come on, come on, come on. So we follow them, and we're heading up there. We get up to the hotel in record fucking time. By the time we got there, I realized that we were going to have to deliver on Little Kim and Jay-Z, so we parked discreetly in a little side area, and we went into the hotel and never saw them again. The next day, the rally would continue, and our first destination was going to be the Budweiser Brewery in St. Louis. Now, whoever came up with the idea of having a lunch stop, sandwiches and beer on a high-speed road rally was smoking fucking crack. Probably not a good idea. Now, I didn't hear of anybody getting any DUIs, so maybe the passenger drank and the driver didn't, or maybe they just got away with it. But yeah, probably not a good idea. This was going to be another long drive through some pretty desolate areas. If you've been through southern Illinois and northern Missouri, you know it's not exactly spectacular scenery. But I finally did get some seat time in the Panos, and I got to say I was pretty disappointed the window frame would come off at about 120 miles an hour. But the highlight of the day was getting pulled over again by 2 state police. This time, they got us on radar for 105 miles an hour. And that fucking radar detector of mine that I had went in the trash right after that. When the cop got up to the door, the conversation went something like this. You boys aren't from around this parts, are you? And I was figuring, like, how did he know that? Because I had all my teeth? Joking. Obviously, he could tell that it was an out-of-state plate because it was a Michigan car from Audi of North America. So that was the assumption he was making, so my bad. So I pulled out my driver's license and registration, and he proceeds to explain to me that in the state of Illinois, if you get pulled over and you don't live there, you have to go to court, or maybe we were in Missouri, whatever, that stretch of road. You have to go and appear before the judge and make bail, and then you can choose to fight the case. Or you have the option of just pleading guilty and paying the ticket right on the side of the road. I'm like, here we go, there we go. And he goes, what we do is if we take your fine right here, we have an envelope, you put the cash in there, we write the citation number on there, your information in there. It goes right into this drop lock box we have inside the car. There's no funny business going on, and then you'll get a receipt for your fine in the mail. I was like, all right, well, that puts my mind at ease. So, I've only got $20 bills on me. I think the fine was like $117.36 or something like that. And it was $107, whatever it was. And I said, the fine's only $100? He goes, yeah, why? Only $100? Well, I said, in California, that fine's easily $500, $600, $700, easy. He goes, well, it's only $107 or whatever it was. And I said, well, we're going to be on this road for a couple more hours. Is it okay if I prepay in advance for a couple more? He didn't really find that all that funny, surprisingly. So, of course, I gave him six $20 bills. And he's like, I can't take this. You don't have exact change. I said, well, what do you want me to do? We can follow me to court, or we can go up here and get change. So pull up into the next exit, a couple miles down the road. There's a gas station there at the top of the ramp. Pull in there. The Audi pulls in behind me. I'm in the Panos. The cop pulls in behind. And this lady working the counter was giving me the judgmental look like I just raped a sheep or something. And it's like, I just felt her judging me, just judging me. So I walk up there and I say, I'll get a pack of gum. And she just puts her head down, $20. She looks at me, $20 for a pack of gum. She looks at me, makes eye contact. How fast did he get you for? She fucking knew. She knew. And not on top of that, she's like, you're like the third one today. I'm like, you're the third one today. And I thought we were in the lead. I seriously thought that nobody had passed us because we had driven a different road to get to the freeway, yada, yada, yada. Oh, you're the third one today. I'm like, son of a bitch. So, yeah, that was not a good experience. Paid my fine and off we went. So the next day we started from Kansas City and then headed out for Vail, Colorado, a distance of about 600 miles or so, give or take. I was looking forward to a drive on the 70. And we had been on the road for a very short time, just outside of Kansas City, when we ran into a toll booth on the Kansas Turnpike. People who've ever driven that route probably know the toll booth well. Anyway, so we get up to the toll booth, and waiting just on the other side, I noticed that there was a gaggle of police cars. I'm thinking it's just no big deal. Turns out they pulled everyone over. Every single car on the rally. 25 plus people were pulled and caught in this net. We were all gathered along the side of the road where they actually had a parking area staged up. And the troopers were kind enough to get everybody in the car, grab everybody, grab their driver's license. So they were holding all of our licenses, and they pulled them in a little school circle and said this: we realize you're on a rally and you want to have fun, but passing on the shoulders and weaving in and out of traffic is going to land all of you in jail today. Since none of you probably want to go to jail today, I suggest that you alter your actions. By the way, we've also alerted all the police jurisdictions along your route. We have airplanes in the sky, and the stickers on your cars are going to make it pretty easy to pick you out in the traffic. So our advice is pretty simple. Have fun, but be safe. Big Brother is watching. That was it. At the end of it, everybody shook his hand. He was very professional. He was very nice. He made his point well, and his little talk was over. He was kind enough to be photographed with the group. There was a bunch of people taking pictures. This was right before Facebook became a thing. So I think it was still on MySpace back then. It was 2006. And that was it. So while the other cars rejoined the rally and continued out on the turnpike, my partner and I decided to be smart. We went south down to 56 and then ran into Highway 4 and then ran back up to Highway 70 somewhere around Lyman in Kansas. And that was a pretty good route. We didn't get any tickets. We were going pretty fast. So the rest of us got to Vail without any incident. It was really not a big deal at that point, but we made pretty good time. I think we were 5th into Vail. The next day, though, would take us to Las Vegas along I-70. It's a beautiful piece of road down that canyon. I was really happy to get on that road. We set out really early in the morning, and we weren't on the road for even 30 minutes before there was trouble. Sitting on the downhill side outside the hotel, down the road a little bit, the cops were waiting for us on the downhill side on the shoulder. We hadn't been on the road, but maybe 20 minutes, if that. Everybody was on the brake. Now, I was over at 80 miles an hour. I didn't want to start the day off like that. Some people were doing $1.20, that kind of thing. What happened was the cop decided to pull out from the shoulder, and now a bunch of people were scattered over 4 lanes, 3 or 4 lanes, whatever it was, were on the brakes, and somebody didn't avoid the cop. Apparently, they ran into the back end of him or narrowly missed it or hit another car. I heard the story later at the hotel. I drove by and I saw a damaged car on the side of the road, and I saw the cop car. That's all I saw. I didn't hear anything about that. What happened that night until I got to the hotel in Vegas, which was Caesar's Palace. Apparently, the people who were involved already bonded out and had already rejoined the rally. So this was the best leg of the route, though. I-70 West. At one point, a helicopter came down. There were 6 of us doing about 140 miles an hour, and the helicopter came in, got down about 20 feet off the ground, camera hanging out. The side door, you couldn't hang out too far because the wind was pretty powerful at 120, 130 miles an hour. But he's filming us, and it was through this beautiful canyon section, slightly uphill through 70, and it was absolutely amazing. But he only stuck with us for about 45 seconds, maybe a minute, and then he just kind of, started falling back and then climbed up in altitude. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Well, this is the best part of the road. It was beautiful. And I asked the guy, I ran into him at the bar later that night in Vegas. I said, why didn't you keep filming us? He goes, we fly the same helicopters as the cops. They won't do about 130 miles an hour. I was like, cop helicopters only do 130 miles an hour. Make a note of that, Craig. Just kidding. The rally ended the next day at the Beverly Hilton. As expected, drivers of the cars decided that the parking lot of the hotel was the perfect place to do donuts. Boys will be boys, I guess, right? So it was nice to hear the Ferrari on the pipe and doing donuts. The little piece of shit Mustang that was out there doing donuts was not only lame, it was stupid. This guy was doing reverse donuts in a rear-wheel drive car. Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Anyway, that was that. So after I told the story to my buddy, he very astutely asked, now what's the difference between 7 days of high-speed road rallies and intersection takeovers? I sarcastically fired back, better cars, I guess. I mean, I didn't have really a better answer because he had absolutely made his point, so I get it. But speaking more objectively, I've been on enough road rallies to now know what they're all about. It's fun to do, but it's a risk. But I think at this point in my life, I've outgrown some of the Type A personalities that you might find on these events, and I've certainly outgrown taking unnecessary risks with not just my life, but the lives of others. I've had too many friends and associates affected by mishaps on the road doing this kind of stuff. And it's just not worth it for me anymore. Track days are more my thing. I mean, I haven't done one in over a year, almost 2 years now. I had a back problem, but I think doing it at the track is better. I get the fun of it, but that's not for me anymore. One sick side note to this story. There was a girl racer team comprised of a woman by the name of Ashley Van Dyke and another one named Jasmine Fiore. Ashley was cool enough. She did a fair amount of motorsports driving, but her co-driver, Jasmine Fiore, was a reality TV star who was brutally murdered by her TV-found husband. She was like Megan Wants to Meet a Millionaire or something like that. and her husband wound up killing her, and it was just a weird deal. I met her on the rally. I saw her talking to a bunch of dudes over there, and it was just sad. But the happy side of this is that I met several good people on some of these rallies, most of whom I'm still friends with today. I think for me, our love for cars as a group is something that brings people from all backgrounds together, and it's something that I appreciate very much. So remember that these are your brothers and sisters when you're chatting on forums and so forth, and be kind to each other. That's all you got to do, right? Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed my little story. I'll have more for you another time.